Welcome to the Moxo podcast. Thank you for joining us today. I'm your host, Nikhita, and in this episode, I'll be speaking with Dov Benyaacov-Kurtzman, the founder and CEO of Eden Wellstyle. Eden Wellstyle is truly a groundbreaking company. They've redefined holistic mental health as a lifestyle. They were inspired by the challenges posed by the COVID-19 pandemic. So Eden Wellstyle really aims to break down the silos in mental health care provision and offer unparalleled wellness integration. They place you, the individual, at the center of everything to determine your wellness needs and believing that you shouldn't have to wait for that care. In this episode, we're going to explore how Moxo has played a crucial role in helping Eden Wellstyle offer this innovative healthcare model. By leveraging Moxo's capabilities, Eden Wellstyle has actually been able to transform the mental health care process, making it more streamlined, efficient, and accessible. We're going to discuss how Moxo has empowered Eden Wellstyle to reach people way more easily, enhancing the client experience and improving the delivery of mental health care services. Thank you for joining us, and please enjoy our conversation with Dov from Eden Wellstyle. Dov, how are you?
Yeah, I'm fine, thank you. Thank you very much for inviting me along.
Absolutely. We're so thrilled to learn more about Eden Wellstyle, everything you do, and your journey to get here. Just to kick things off, could you provide an overview of your business and the industry you operate in?
All right, so we operate on wellness industry, basically anything to do with well-being of a human being. So from the one side, from the medical side, so we have psychiatrists in our service, clinical psychologists, counselors, all the way over to yoga or Tai Chi, personal training, nutrition. We cover the whole holistic side of well-being, and everything that we do is online.
It's amazing. That's absolutely amazing. And I mean, there's so much to get into there, but so what inspired you to start Eden Wellstyle? I mean, there's obviously a lot we have to unpack, but yeah, how did you get started?
So we're just coming up now to the end of our third year, so our third anniversary. And if we go back 3 years from now, we were kind of in the middle of the pandemic, so 2021. And one thing that I realized being in the, I'm a psychotherapist myself, and I, worked for a very prestigious hospital, and everything was going online. And I was seeing more and more that there was a massive backlog in people being seen. And that didn't matter whether it was on the public health service, which is the National Health Service in the UK, or in the private care. And one of the things that I noticed is that people going for any sort of private care, they were going to people's offices, and in these offices you might have one psychiatrist or one counselor, or maybe a few of them had got together. But therefore there was long waiting lists there as well. And there was other kind of online services available, but the public service, because they were so backlogged, were beginning to buy up their capacity on the private service. So basically everything was chock-a-block and nothing was moving. And I really wanted to give a service that people could get seen as soon as possible. And basically that's within hours or days, not in months or years, basically. So, and so that's where the idea came from. And the idea was that we would be able to have unlimited capacity, because if we were online, we'd be able to recruit in the best practitioners from all over the country. And then scalability would be there for us as a business as well. We'd be able to scale up very easily. It was very, very important for me at that time that we wouldn't just be another kind of medical service. The holistic side was very important to me. So we didn't want to just follow a medical model. We wanted to follow an evidence-based model, of course, but the full spectrum of dealing with a human being and how to help a human being raise the quality of their life. So that was really important. And another thing that was really important ingredient for me was that they would have personal service. And what I mean by that is generally speaking, in healthcare, probably anywhere in the world, you would go and visit your doctor or your counselor or your psychologist or whatever. And as soon as you walk out that door, that's you, you're back on your own again. And if you walked out and you had a question or whatever, you'd have to make another appointment and go and so on. And we wanted them to have like a concierge. So they would have basically, it's not 24/7, but it's almost 24/7. So even in the morning, the afternoon, or even the evenings and even the weekends, if they had a question or something that they wanted, a query that they needed answered, then there would be that customer service dedicated to that person that they could just WhatsApp or email or even call if necessary. And so that was very important, that personal service. So somebody didn't feel alone in between having sessions or seeing a doctor or whatever. And so that was also another ingredient that we had to, that was really part of our business.
Thank you so much for sharing kind of the background in terms of what inspired you, but also how to think about the model, right? If you're creating something from the ground up and you're solving for this problem, you really have to think about what holistic wellness looks like. And so it's really interesting to understand from your perspective, all the different facets you have to think about, right? It's not just that one session, but it's the personal care. It's the feeling of being supported, right? It's the feeling that you leave the office and it's truly personal, because we're all familiar with that. You go for an appointment or it's a scary time in your life. It's uncomfortable and you have to be vulnerable or open up. I'm sure people in this situation, it's scary. And then they come out and, feeling like it's a nice hug wrapped around you, right? You can get support whenever you need is truly critical in this space.
Absolutely. And look, when people are reaching out for help, this was a very brave thing to do.
Yeah.
But as you said, they feel very vulnerable. And when you're at your most vulnerable, we're not problem solving exactly on our optimum way, right? So I learned this when I was working in a psychiatric ward, and we would really give people the best we could possibly give them while they were in the ward. But when they were released, right, the discharged, as soon as they got to the door of the ward and walked out, they were now on their own. And I used to think to myself, well, if they've got to go now to the pharmacy, or they've got to get home, or they've got to whatever, how did you do that, right? It's not, we can't take for granted that somebody's already okay just as they walk out the hospital. And so that learning process, I thought, okay, also for people that were coming in to use our service, yes, we're a virtual service, we're online. And so it was really even more important for me that they could just WhatsApp or lift the phone and say, you know what, I forgot to ask that question, or what do I do with my prescription, or or can I get some other service? Another thing that we do is we integrate. We're multidisciplinary. So if the psychiatrist says, look, it would be really good if you got some counseling, that's done in-house. And then the counselor said, you know what, why don't you get some sort of relaxation or some sort of body movement therapy like Qigong or yoga? That's in-house as well. And then with the permission of the client, we're all working together. So it's not that it's a separate silos, it's a multidisciplinary team that's now supporting them.
Yeah, you're not solving for one piecemeal part of the problem and then, oh, God forbid they have something else that they need help with. Well, go to somebody else and let's hope you see them eventually, right?
Yeah,
and
exactly.
And then as a result, I would think that with such a holistic approach that's so integrative, each person who's working with that client is really closely connected to understand their case, right? There's more knowledge that you have to work off of, and you can probably go deeper and help that person on a deeper level.
Yeah, absolutely. And if sometimes, not always it's needed, but when it's needed, we can all get together and basically discuss the case and come up with the best formula for each individual. And even when it comes to getting their prescription dispensed, well, we've also got pharmacists on our team now as well, so they can make sure that it's in stock for them. We can deliver it door to door for them, so they get the best from the point of view of service behind healthcare and not just seeing a professional.
Of course. And I mean, just to go back for a moment, right? Let's talk about somebody coming in today who says, I need help, right? Whatever situation they're in, I need help and I need to talk to somebody. They're brave enough to put themselves out there and look for help. If, they weren't working with a business like yours, what does that process look like today? How long can it take? And what steps would people need to take?
So if you're going coming through us, then it's basically wide open. And the first question is, where do I look? The second question is, how do I know if the person that I'm found is actually qualified, is, a good facilitator, whatever it is that they're doing. And it's a bit of a jungle in a sense, because most people are now going to be looking online, at least to get their information. Not many people know exactly what's the difference between a psychiatrist, a psychologist, a counselor. I mean, the general person in the street doesn't even know what the difference is, really. And so what we built was anybody that comes to us, first of all, gets a private consultation just talking about what it is they're looking for. So we just kind of make them feel comfortable. They talk for it's about half an hour, and we just go through what it is that's bothering you, what is it you're looking for. No obligation to come to us. We give them also information that they can maybe find elsewhere if they want it. There's no pressure in any way to come to us. And we usually say to them, look, go and try the public health service first anyway, and we try to give them tips on how to do that. And then come back to us later if that's not working for you. So if you're not having that, it's really difficult to actually get any help. So the first place normally somebody would go is their family doctor, their general practitioner. To get an appointment these days with a general practitioner is very difficult. Sometimes they don't have a personal one anymore, and sometimes it's a long waiting list just to get that. And then when you go to a general practitioner, unfortunately, and this is a big thing of mine to try and push for, general practitioner doctors don't get really educated in mental health. They get like a 2-week thing in medical school. That's about all they get on that. And that's about it. So they're not always understanding what's exactly needed. And any referrals that they might make might take months or years to actually, for somebody to get on an appointment now.
And that's a scary process, right? Because think about somebody going in, reaching out. I mean, I've obviously, coming from the US market, I've heard stories of a friend who even works as a general practitioner at a very, great hospital locally here in California. And, they've told us that on the back end, hey, regardless of whether somebody has a serious life-threatening, let's say, issue, or it's a very small issue, they get the same amount of time. We don't get to tell them that in advance, so they don't know. So they're rushing to try to get through their questions, and you've hit the 15-minute mark. You're done. You're out of here. If you have any other question, rebook another appointment. And that appointment might be in 3 months just to get seen, right? So it's a really tough process. And I mean, you feel for people out there who are trying to get help, because as we can see clearly across the world, the services are limited, but it's also the process. The process itself is so debilitating that might remove people or let's say, demotivate them to get help in the first place, right?
Absolutely. And also when people are going to general practitioners, if they've got more than one issue, they're not allowed to come up with all their issues. It's all, if you've got another issue, that's another appointment,
schedule
right?
a different appointment if you have something else.
And that can be, like you said, very off-putting, to the point where people will just, I don't want to bother the doctor, I don't want to go anymore, right. And they'll just suffer sometimes in silence in their own, until things start to get a lot worse. It will start to affect their families, it will start to affect their workplace, it will start to affect their other relationships, and things just go downhill from there on, where they might start self-medicating or doing other things to try and help themselves, and that just adds to the problem. And that's where we try to kind of look at it from a holistic point of view of how they live. Is it nutrition? Is it movement? Is it
Yeah.
psychological? Is it medical? And we try to cover all of these areas at the same time.
Yeah, because as we know, all these problems are connected. And I know exactly what you mean. You go in for one, but you can't talk about the other. But typically there's a reason, right? One leads to another, or they play off of each
Sure.
other, and it creates other situations. So, I mean, I just love the sound of the approach that you have taken, and the way you've thought through this, right? Obviously, coming from your diverse background, the experience you have of working with so many different types of people, I'm sure you have a much deeper understanding of what being holistic means, right? Because that term is used so loosely nowadays,
I know.
and
I
holistic
know.
wellness. But okay, but what does that really entail? And so learning from you that it's really all sides of the coin, right? It's analyzing every single side of the problem, coming in and understanding what is their problem, what have they experienced. I mean, that's a beautiful thing before you get into the treatment, right? Hear from the person.
Right.
What
Yeah,
are they experiencing? What
absolutely.
does their life look like today? Sometimes it's as simple as starting there.
Yeah, and apart from my education, I tried to bring my own personal journey, my own personal
Mhm.
experience,
Yeah.
lived experiences, people call it now, into my business, where um, I've learned academically on the side, but I've also got my own experience. I've worked with a lot of trauma cases. I've worked with a lot of disasters. I've gone through my own traumas. I've had my own experiences of working with the psychologist. And I've tried to use what I would have thought would improve that service and bring that to the business so that people, at the end of the day, there's two sides to this. There's a commercial side to this, and there's a helping people have higher quality lives, and they're both really important. Okay, the business side is important because without that, we're not going to be able to give that service that's important. And we want to kind of go out and bring something from an outlook point of view that's not really there. We want to bring mental well-being, human well-being out of the dark offices up in the fifth floor, and you go into psychiatry. We want to bring everything out that it's not about stigma. It's about there's no reason for stigma. It's just about that's human condition. That's what it's like to be a human, and why not? Why hide it, right? So that's why we brand what we do. We want to give a lot of education in schools. We're getting a lot of requests for ADHD assessments and treatments. And we're not just treating it with medication. We're talking about other aspects of behavioral applications for helping parents, helping children, helping adults. And so it's about normalizing a lot of this stuff because that's what humans are like. And that's it. It's about, really determined to say enough of this pathologizing a lot of what humans go through. A lot of it's just reactions to natural reactions to sometimes unnatural situations or difficult situations, and nobody teaches us how to look after ourselves from the inside. And so if we're not taught what to do, then obviously we're going to have a scary situation if we start feeling things or thinking things or having emotional reactions that we're not quite used to. And so a lot of it is about education as well and understanding, look, this is the normal reaction and we want to help you lift up the hood, as they say in America, and see what's going on underneath and help you learn what to do with that.
Yeah, normalizing it, right? That, hey, there are so many people around the world that go through this, getting comfortable with saying, hey, it's okay to feel this way, and then
Yeah,
understanding how to think about it, right? It's
yeah.
really giving people it's giving people a framework for how to think about their situation too, right?
And a skill set, right? It's a
Yes.
skill set.
Yeah.
A little kid, a 2 or 3 year old, he falls and hurts his knee. and we all know what to do, and we rub it and clean it and put a plaster on it, everything, and we comfort the child, and that we
Right.
grow up knowing what to do with that, right?
Sure.
But
Yeah.
what happens inside, nobody knows. Nobody gets taught what we need to
Yeah.
do, right? And
Right.
so it's about learning skills and what happens when we have disturbing thoughts, or we have heavy emotions, or we have body sensations that are a little bit strange for us. These are the things that we need to get taught skill set on what to do with that.
And there's a lot of nuance to that, right? There's another level of nuance that's required. And I think that's also what's hard. You can't, at least from my limited knowledge, it's not as simple as saying, here's a textbook, read it, and you're educated, right?
Oh yeah, absolutely
it's
not.
not accounting, or it's not.
Yeah, and every human being is unique.
Yeah.
Right? And their experiences are unique, and their history is unique. And so that's what's really, I think, fascinating about the whole aspect of our business, is that we're our clients are unique beings, right? It's not about, a lot of people say, oh, teach me tools. And I say the tools are for robots and cars,
Right.
It's not for human beings. There's no tools, there's skills that we need. We have to understand how to use what we've got here, because it's a fascinating thing that we want, our bodies and our minds. And if we learn how to use the skills to optimize our life, it can be totally life-changing.
Well, and it's funny you say that. I heard that recently from somebody who said, they've gone through health stuff, so to speak. And they said, when you go through general practitioners or you go to a doctor, you realize they're trained to think like it's a factory. And here's what I've standardly seen. And this is the car that I'm producing. So here's what I prescribe. But what you realize over time is each human being is like their own custom car, custom designed from the core. So you have to understand and learn and analyze your own engine. And like you said, open the hood and really get into the depth of it. Nobody else, at least in a lot of people's experience, nobody else will truly do that for you, right?
Absolutely. So the medical model is based on protocols.
Right.
And to be fair to doctors, they're not allowed to go outside of those protocols, right? So they just follow the flow, if you got yes here, no here, yes here, no here. And at the end of it, it's do this, right? It's a flow chart, basically. There's a few doctors coming up now that manage to break out of that, but it's very, very difficult. And so medicine at the moment is very protocol based, and a lot of psychotherapy was protocol based as well, and that's getting moved away from that to process based. We have to understand the processes that's going on. It's not about if you've got that, do this, if you've got that, do that. It's more about what's the process and what's going on in your life. As you said, everything is connected. Context is absolutely important to understand. You can't understand a person, what they're going through, if you don't understand the context that they're living in. And we're all living in different contexts, external contexts and internal contexts. And when we begin to understand that, we can then begin to teach the skills for people to almost help themselves in a way, because we can't really do it. We can teach them, but they actually need to practice it. And once they do that, and I've done it myself, I wasn't born knowing this, and I practice this every day on myself to get to a place where today will be better than yesterday, right? It will be higher quality than it's been up until now. And this is a ongoing thing for the whole of our lives. It's good.
It never ends, right?
It never ends. It never ends, because we don't know what's coming tomorrow, right? It never ends. Yeah.
So diving into your model, right? And let's talk now about how you created this model, because it is unique. And I want to know, in that context, obviously, how did you discover Moxo? But what caught your attention, right? As I'm understanding, I think going back to this point that service is critical, right? You have to provide this comforting service, the support service. So what caught your attention? And could you walk us through the decision-making process by choosing Moxo, right? What made you say, this is it, or this is what I want to build Eden Wellstyle with? How did you think about that?
So that was quite an interesting journey for me, because up until I discovered that Moxo existed, I was looking for what Moxo provides, right? I had it in my head. I knew what I wanted, but I didn't know that it existed, right? And so up until that time, it was very frustrating for me running this business from many aspects. One, because there's a lot of moving parts, as I call it, right? So there's a lot of different appointments being made. There's linking up the clients with the practitioners. There's the fact that they have to talk to each other, keeping documents in the one place, all being secured, and being able to follow everything and understand where everybody is in their own journeys. And of course, I was finding great difficulty scaling up with this, because I was using all sorts of different platforms at that time. So this was being done by email. This was being done by this. We were using Zoom for the videos, and we were using this for that, and everything was kind of all over the place. And it was very, very frustrating for me, because the worst thing that could happen to me was there would be a security breach, and the second thing that would be is if I lost track of what was going on with my clients, because as I said at the beginning, service is really important to me, and the whole idea of taking them through this journey is really important to me. And so I didn't want anyone disappearing or forgetting somebody on the way or whatever. And so one day I just thought, I'm just going to sit down and I'm really just going to search and see if I can find a platform. And I came across Moxo, and as soon as I looked at it, I thought, this is it. This is exactly what I was looking for. I was so excited, and got in touch with them right away. And I think it was James that contacted me, and he was so helpful, and he was so, there was no hard sale or anything. I was just talking, and I said, this is exactly what I knew. That's what I wanted. I knew it right away. And so he helped me set it up pretty quickly, and then all the rest of the people coming in and the customer journey was amazing. And as soon as we got it set up, it was doing everything that we wanted it to do. And so everything is inside Moxo now. The videos are inside Moxo, the conversations, all our documents, all our suppliers are in Moxo, all our facilitators are in there, all our clients are in there. So everything is contained in the one place, and it's very, very easy for us to see, especially me, because I've got my staff that are actually dealing, and they know what's going on much more than me. But I can just look at it and I can see, all right, I know exactly what's going on with everybody, what they've filled in, where are they on the journey. And for me, that just gives me that breathing space to work on business development, which is what I want. And and I see the operations are working along well. All the payment links go through there and everything. And so, it's wonderful. A big, big fan.
Oh, we're so happy to hear that. I mean, it's thrilling to be a part of the journey and to hear stories like this, right? Where we've been able to make an impact, and knowing that it touches so many people whose lives are changed and they get better support and help with their mental health is incredible to be a part of. So thanks for including us in the Eden Wellstyle journey.
Yeah, and thank you. And I mean, I walk around. This is my where everything is, right? And I love the fact that it's got an app as well, right?
Right.
So I just look at it all. I'm just totally mobile, which is what I need to be, because I've got my own clinic. I work in a hospital. I also have my own life. I like to travel, and so I've got it with me at all times. And so, it's been a big change, really. It's been a fundamental change in the way that we work. And it's a fundamental change in my peace of mind that we can scale up
Absolutely.
unlimited, really unlimited amounts, because I
Right.
know that we're all safe in the one platform. So it's been
Mhm.
really life changing from our perspective.
We're so happy to hear that. And I want to unpack that a bit more, right? So talking about the business operations side, of course, you said there's obviously two sides to things. There's the commercial side, and then that's directly connected to how well somebody is taken care of, right? And how much can you help their mental health and their case, their scenario. So walk me through some specifics, if you can, on the changes in your processes, right? How was it done before, which you mentioned, and now could you walk us through a typical scenario with Moxo? What's from somebody coming in through how they get service from your organization?
Yeah, for sure. So what happened? The beginning is the same, basically. So we work a lot with Google Ads, and a lot of our clientele is coming through Google search. We have also clients that come in from referrals from either other professionals or word of mouth, things. But the bulk of our clients are coming through Google. And so what used to happen was that we would get a lead in from Google, and we would work with another kind of lead CRM platform. We put it in there and follow the journey of them through there. And then we would contact them once we get the lead in. We contact them by email, and then maybe possibly a text, and then we might follow up with a phone call or WhatsApp and all sorts of things like that. And once they've come on board, if you like, then sometimes there's a lot of assessments that we do first. So we send them some documents to fill in. We send them the contract. We're working with DocuSign for the contract, and then they would fill in forms. So we'd send them an email with PDF forms that they could fill in and so on. And so it was running smoothly enough, but there was a lot for us to keep tabs of, because we had to make sure that that the contract was done on this platform, the CRM was on this platform. That was all going reasonably smoothly, but the more clients we're dealing with, it sounds like it's smooth, but then it was like one client would say, well, I actually don't remember getting the email, and I don't remember getting this form, and so on and so forth. So we'd have to go and look that up, maybe send it again, and then they would send it back, and then it started to get a little bit messy, right? And that was when I was starting to get really worried that we can't grow if that's going to be the situation. We just can't do it because it's just going to get too messy. So what happens now is we still get the Google leads in, of course. And as soon as that happens and we get them on board, the first thing we do is we onboard them onto Moxo. Once they're on board into Moxo, we have the flow already. A customer coming through us, going through that flow, knows what's left before they actually see the
Right.
facilitator. They know what happens afterwards. It takes any
Yeah.
mystery out of it. So I think that's very calming as well.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I've heard this before, that people say that first month is where you can make or break that customer relationship. And somebody coming in, and I actually heard this in the context of a legal firm we work with and how Moxo impacted their onboarding cycle and retention. But they said somebody's coming in to get legal help. Typically, they're in divorce, law and marriage and family law. It's not a great situation. You need to be able to onboard somebody really quickly. And onboarding, it's a very business-like term, but hey, what it means is getting somebody support in a very serious case as fast as possible and making people feel taken care of is the biggest differentiator as to why somebody would choose one law firm versus another, right?
Yeah, I agree with that.
It's this concierge service experience around it that's so critical.
Look, I know from my own personal experience, when I get in contact with a company, I really value, and I don't mind paying for it, but I really value when I feel that somebody is taking an interest in me and is leading me through the process that I want from them, right? I don't want to be on the phone every 5 minutes. What's happening? What's going on? Where am I in the process? Have you forgotten about me or whatever? Or I'm waiting on constantly, just for them to
Yeah.
answer the phone even, and the fact that this is all there, people know where they are, they can just write in the chat if they've got a problem, and it's both, we answer immediately. I feel pleased that I can offer a service like that.
Yeah.
So that
There's
makes
trust and
me
comfort
happy.
you offer.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's amazing.
and that makes me proud of the service, which Moxo helps me do, because
Right.
it ends up being in the hands of my client that I can actually do that.
Absolutely.
They get the contract in, they can sign it up right on the spot. We know it's done. And then that will take them through the process of, this is your next assignment to do, and it's fill in this form assessment and do this assessment and so on. And even if there's external, so for ADHD assessments, for instance, the client fills in something, but then they have to have another person fill in, and maybe if they're a child, the school has to fill it in. And so everybody gets their own thing, but we see it on the flow, we see where they are. And we know if they're stalling a little bit, then we can intervene and say, look, is there a problem here? This is, it's been a few days and you haven't touched it, and so on. And then, of course, the payment links are already in there. So once they reach a point where they need to pay, it's all done and dusted there. And we can see that they've done that. And so we know just to check the bank, oh, yeah, the money's gone in, and so on. And so we follow them right through until they have to actually see their facilitator, whoever that might be, whether it's a doctor or a psychologist or whatever. And because they're on Moxo as well, then we just set up the meetings between them, and that goes on. So the whole video platform is in Moxo as well. And then the report comes in from the facilitator. We just go through that and then send it to the client on their workspace. And so everything is contained inside. And if the client says, oh, I didn't see that, we can just point them where they are in the workspace, and it's all there. We don't have to look at emails or anything like that. And so it's all contained in the one place, right to the end where it's discharged. And they've been, they've finished the process with however long that takes. And we even ask them for the reviews at the end if they want to give a review, and that's in the flow as well. And so, and it's just so simple.
Right. Yeah. It's really simplified the workflow essentially, right? And then clearly from what I'm hearing, it gives everybody visibility as to where each person is in the process. And I think in a way, the system itself is guiding the process, right? And then when help is needed, right? And the areas in which human beings, knowledge workers, facilitators, and team members from each side needs to get involved, they can, but they're focusing on those areas where they have key impact versus the actual, let's say, dead time or the back and forth of just trying to get things done or bump things, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Because we're overseeing each flow as it goes through, right? So we're just looking at it, making sure it's still moving and moving along. And we don't have to keep, sometimes if we had to keep contacting the client, are you doing this? Are you doing that? We start to become, annoying basically if we could be to. But here they're just taking them through, and then we can intervene and say, look, are you having trouble? And they might say, yeah, we're a bit stuck. So we can intervene, and if not, it goes through really smoothly. And so, it also saves us a lot of time. Yeah, it saves us a lot of manpower time as well, and it saves a lot of headache, basically.
Right. And in a way, what you just said too is if somebody needs to talk or they have a question, you're not, going back to email, right? You're messaging right then and there within the context of the process. You're not breaking up that flow to say, oh, I'm here for this question, but actually the process is, or this one part of the process is taking place in a different thread, right? It's all in that single workspace and that single flow.
Yeah, and that's the great thing about it, right? So it means that we are all on the same page, quite literally, and we all know what we're doing. And so it's very, very, very convenient that way.
Could you share any specific examples or anecdotes or anything you've heard from clients who've gone through this process with you using Moxo? Obviously, they're not seeing it as Moxo, right? But they're seeing it as their experience with Eden Wellstyle and all the knowledge you have to offer. So anything you can share just based on feedback from the platform and
So they don't. A lot of people now that are on Moxo, they don't know what it was like before because But what they have said is that it's a bit. one of the things that is important to us is the speed from when they're onboarded to when they're actually seen. And so they have commented a lot on the fact that they're seen very quickly, and they are very happy with the flow. I mean, they don't mention it specifically, we're happy with the flow, but they're happy with the process that they've gone through. And, that's mentioned quite a lot. And the fact that it's gone through fast, that's also important to them. And that's what, it's a joint thing. I mean, that's what we feel as well. And if they're happy about it, then we're happy about it. Most of the people that we work with have downloaded the app on their phones as well, and they work from their phones. And to get the reports right away on the actual thing. So it's all there for them at all times. And they don't have to look elsewhere to get the reports or whatever the results of their tests. So we're getting a lot of good feedback from customer satisfaction, let's say that way. We know that a lot of it is due to Moxo. They don't necessarily know the difference, but we know that it makes a big difference in the experience that we have.
And from that side, how do you think it's impacted your facilitators or parties internally in your team or suppliers, right? Other parties that you were working with, let's say pre-Moxo to post-Moxo. Have you heard anything from them and their experience?
Okay, so yeah, that's true. Yes, we have. Nobody complained before. Okay, so right, nobody said, "Oh, you're all," nobody. But afterwards, they have said that they really like it. We use consultants, and the consultants that we use are also consultants on the Public Health Service, the National Health Service. So they're top of their range. And one thing about consultants is they're not interested, or they don't have any time, more correctly, to deal with emails here, write report. They want things as smoothly as possible without wasting time on administration. And that could be administration from even setting up their video conferences, or administration in writing reports or sending them, or whatever, right? So that's really a big burden for them because they're very, very busy. So although they didn't complain before because they really love the fact that we're holistic, it's very unusual for them to work, and it's really amazing for them. That's what they really like. But after we started working with Moxo, where everything is in the one place, and even the video conferences are in the one place, and it's all set up for them, they have mentioned that it's been really a great experience for them now as well. And actually, they have mentioned, they didn't mention it about Moxo specifically, but I know it's because of their general experience. So I know where it's coming from, is that they said one of the reasons why they continue to work with us, because they're not, these people have had experience with other companies. And one of the reasons why they continue to work with us, and this is quote basically, is because the experience working with Eden Wellstyle is so great for them. And that includes the quality of the assessments we're doing, but it's also including the quality of the service that we're giving them, which is important for us as well, the process. And so I know where it's coming from, because it's a change in experience for them to have everything in the one place as well.
Definitely. And in that context, you mentioned, right, before you were using Moxo, you were thinking, as an owner, as an operator, as somebody who's really experienced in this space and trying to grow this business, it's hard to scale, right? So with Moxo, how do you feel it's impacted your ability to grow and scale? And do you have any stats or anything you can share with us on that front?
So I've not got stats yet because we're still new, right? We're still pretty new with it. But I know from my personal peace of mind, so it's two things. The peace of mind came as soon as I started working with Moxo, and I realized that where I was holding back from scaling up before, really holding back, because I know that we can scale up a lot, but I was holding it back because I didn't want to get into any danger zones if I didn't have a proper system in place. What I can tell you, I suppose this is a bit of a stat in a way, is that this is our finishing our third year. Okay, so it's our third first two quarters. We had the first two quarters and a second year of two quarters, and then this year of two quarters, January to July. And there's a massive jump in this January to July from all of our other years, right? And one of the reasons for that is as soon as we put Moxo into place, I increased our Google adverts, and we managed to bring in a lot more people. So we've basically done, because I just checked this yesterday, we've done in this 6 months, compared to last year, we've done 140% rise. So, and I know that came from me having confidence to be able to increase that.
That's amazing. And I'm so happy to hear that. And congrats to your team and your business too, because that, A, from a commercial side, that's amazing. But B, from the fact that we know that that means more people are getting help. That's incredible.
Yeah.
And
it was a surprise to me as well, because I just looked at it yesterday. And yeah, and I'm looking forward, to increasing that even more, because I trust the platform. As I've said, I'm a massive fan of it. Right? I really am, because I see how powerful it is. I'm a massive fan of it. It's turned our business around, and it's given me the confidence to scale up.
I can't tell you how happy we are to hear that. And on that point, I'd love to know, what's your thought process around technology in the mental health space, right? Because it's highly debated, I think, especially in this world of AI, right? All you hear about nowadays is AI. And then people often mix up this word AI and automation, and they mean very different things, especially in each industry, each type of process within that industry, each workflow. So how do you feel technology is going to change the mental health space? And obviously for Eden Wellstyle, you've really adapted technology. You've used it to personalize the experience, right? So can you talk to me a little more about that?
Yeah. So I have an outlook on technology. I have two things. One, I really value human beings.
Yes.
Okay, that's really important for me, that human touch. It's really, really important to me. I don't want that human connection to go. I don't think there's anything that can replace it. It doesn't matter how good your AI is, and how humans need humans. So that's really important. But technology can really help, and it's helped us become more efficient and have the ability to have more human-to-human time and more quality of human-to-human time, because all the other aspects, all these moving parts, all these administration things, all these security things, and all the way that the flow, the automation, in order to increase the speed from onboarding to getting seen, then I'm a big fan of good technology, right? That it takes care of these matters, because I think it can reduce human error as well. And humans are not perfect. And so if it reduces human error, then I'm all for that. But I'm not a big fan of replacing humans with AI, okay? When it comes to human connection, I think we have to be very careful with that. I think we have suffered from the pandemic, all about the whole idea of social distancing, the whole idea of being isolated. We can see that has affected people's well-being. And it's obvious, because humans need humans. And it's very simple formula. Human beings need human beings. And if you separate human beings out, and we live in a bit of an individualistic world anyway, it's been going that way for a long time. But if you totally separate human beings from, we know that isolation is torture. I mean, it's not torture because it's a fancy name. It's because human beings suffer if they're not with other human beings. And so, yes, we work online. But we try to have that human contact as much as possible. And that's why we have that concierge service that we give to people, because we want them, even though it's online. And I think being online is an amazing thing. And we know from research that it still works as good as face to face. So there's no problem with that. And it brings people together like you and me now. You're, the other side of the world, so that's a fantastic side of technology, and I'm all for that. I think it's fantastic, right? Because otherwise we wouldn't be able to connect like this. But I think we also have to be careful that, and people are working on it now, so we have to tread carefully about replacing that human interaction with technology. So I am a fan of technology and I'm a fan of human beings. So we've got to work with both, I think.
Absolutely. And I think firstly, it's industry based, right? And as we said, it's per process, the level of human interaction required changes. I think in the mental health space, human interaction is exactly what people need, right? That's the core of the service. And I think in most services, you need the human being. And so it's about using technology to better assist that human being, right? And as you said, giving them more time to focus on the time with another human, the quality time versus time wasted in menial tasks or a lot of the manual follow-up or the dead time in between the actual interaction with another human, which is why somebody is coming to your business in the first place, right? To interact and to
absolutely.
Get help. And that help comes from working with somebody. And yes, I completely agree. We're human beings are creatures, are social creatures. We're creatures that look for community. And when people don't have community of some type, and that's when we really start to suffer, right? Whatever that community is. So I couldn't agree more. And I wonder, when you think about Eden Wellstyle, where do you see the company in the next 5 to 10 years? Where do you see it going?
So I want us to really increase and be able to, from the point of view of the United Kingdom, to be a leading mental well-being service. I've already got thoughts of expanding outside of the UK and kind of repeating that model in other places. I think it's very, it won't be too difficult to do that. So that's our medium and long-term kind of vision.
Yeah. And especially in the space of concierge service, I'm actually curious how you think about, what does the end of a successful client journey look like? Or how do you deem a client journey as successful in a space where, of course, there's the commercial aspect, but are they successful when they finish treatment and they keep coming back for more, right? Or are they successful when they're off on their own, but they can come back if they need something? How do you qualify, hey, this client was successful, or hey, this journey wasn't successful? How do you think about that?
So we think about that a lot, and it's very personal to the particular client and what they came for. And if they get through their journey, which we help them design as well, so if they get through that journey and at the end of the day, they feel that the quality of their life is better than when they first started, already that's a success for us. We always say to all of our clients, even though that might be it and they're leaving now, that they're still part of our system and they can come in anytime they want for any of the other services, and that they're part of Eden Wellstyle. And Eden Wellstyle is about, the name comes from well-being as a lifestyle. And so that well style philosophy means that we're open to them at all times. They've always got someone that they can turn to if it's sometime in the future. And we've had that. We've had people after a year and a half have come back and said, look, this issue that I'd like to deal with, and we'll get it set up for them right away.
Yeah. And it's I think in a way, it's knowing that they have that place to go to, right? First, it's success through being able to address their problem, make them feel supported, and clearly the very holistic approach. And I like what you said at the beginning, the moment you said, hey, there's the actual consultative discussion, really understanding their problem. There's different forms of therapy in itself, who you see, types of practitioners. And then there's the side of saying somebody needs to do yoga to, help them be calm, help them manage their mind. Do they need physical forms of therapy, right? And I strongly believe that, right? There's a whole combination of factors that you think through. So in a way, there's nothing wrong with coming back for more, right? In fact, sometimes that's the best thing. That means somebody is really, really at their healthiest self because they're able to be aware when there are continuous things they need to solve for. And that's human. Right? That's human. It's an ongoing journey.
Yeah. Well, you've hit it right on in the head of the nail, and
Yeah.
that is, if you can do a lot of the times I say to people, you know what, you're very lucky in the sense that you need help because once you go through this, you've got it for life. And I think, if I could really give you my vision is that everybody gets this as a prevention rather than wait till it's, really so painful they have to cry out for help. We should learn these skills as a prevention. And that's my ultimate dream is that, we educate people on how to look after themselves. And, when they really, really need somebody, and we all do at one point, then it's there for them. But it would be great if we learned how to help ourselves more and understand little children and teach them in schools and in colleges and so on how to help ourselves going living a human being's life, and then that's really what it's all about. And so, yeah, if they can learn that through anything coming into contact with us, then we've done our job.
I've got one final question on just the topic of Moxo and how you use it right before we wrap up. But
Yeah.
one thing came to mind when you just said that, which is security and privacy. That's important too. I'm sure when people are coming to you, it's critical to them that they feel that their privacy is maintained. There's probably a lot of personal issues and they're trusting your business with that. So how has Moxo, helped or impacted that? How do you think about privacy in this space?
Okay, so a massive amount, and that's because we can keep everything contained in the one platform. It's very secure, and that we're not transferring information between platforms, which we were before. And I really didn't like it. We didn't have a choice at that point. Um, but I knew that I didn't want to do that for too long because I didn't feel comfortable with it. So once we managed to get everything under the one roof, if you like, totally secure, totally, enclosed with a secure platform, then we feel very free that they can actually tell us what they're thinking, what they're feeling. They can talk on the Moxo platform, on video or on telephone, and we know that everything is contained in the one place, all the documents and everything. So it's a massive change in keeping everything secure, which is really important to us.
Which is critical. Yeah.
Yeah.
Dov, thank you so much. I mean, this was such an interesting conversation. I learned so much, and I'm sure our listeners will too. And just firstly, what it means to look for mental health support, what is an interdisciplinary approach, how to truly be holistic, the things you need to think about when establishing this type of a framework, right? How do you truly support somebody where the service aspect is so critical? That concierge service is key in taking care of somebody in the space and giving access to more people. So truly, truly appreciate you sharing your insights today. And thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you too. It's been wonderful. You've been a great host and I've enjoyed it. Thank you very much. You put me at
Thank
ease.
you so much. Thank you.
Take care.